Hello.
Hi. So,
Welcome to Vancouver and the messiness of creativity, where Dr. David Newman and I am Caroline Brookfield. We met at the library to rent a beautiful studio space, and we went to the wrong library. It happens. It's failure. That's what happens.
yep.
So here we are.
So we're
outside
improvising.
We're improvising. We asked the city hall if we could use a corner, and they said no. So we are here under an awning, North Vancouver, which is actually quite beautiful.
Yeah.
And that brings to why are we here today? David, why am I here
Well,
in Vancouver?
why are you here in Vancouver? Why didn't you tell the story? And
Okay, I will tell a
what did you
story.
do?
So I am Dr. Caroline Brookfield, but not a doctor like David is. I'm a veterinary doctor, different kind of doctor. And neither of us can help on a plane. So I could maybe help, but I might get sued. So I am here because I was hired by a group of CEOs to deliver a creativity facilitation up in Whistler. And I panicked and I said, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. I knew I could do it, but that's the challenge of being challenged, is that you want to say no because challenge is difficult and uncomfortable. So then I had a thought, how could I get more comfortable so that I can actually take on this challenge and grow and learn and be a better facilitator? And the first person I thought was David, because David is an accomplished and very well respected creativity facilitator and professor and all the things. So I thought, well, I'm sure I can do this with a little help from my friends.
And so that's where Caroline sent me an email and said, help. Just wanted the story she told.
That's exactly what
And
I said.
I said, you can do this. No problem. Let's work out how to do this. And this is where the idea of a thought partner, I became her thought partner in the process.
I need a bubble. We'll have to later wrap it bubble.
Yeah. And so we co-created. Caroline had the outline of what she thought she wanted to do, and then we got together and we talked for a couple of hours, and I did some research, and we talked some more about it, but we came up with a workshop that ultimately went very well.
It did go very well. And so from my perspective, I am very much a reach out to people. I think that you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to whoever. If you know me, you know that Daniel Pink wrote a blurb for my book. I've reached out to people.
I did too.
Did you? Yes, that's
Yes.
right. You did.
I'm on there as well.
You're not as famous as him, though. Sorry.
No,
so
I'm not.
yeah, you're not.
Not
but
yet.
you're as smart as he is. So it's reaching out to people. But what held me back was this worry that A, David would feel like he's too busy. That B, I'm taking advantage of his generosity, and I know that he would have helped me in whatever capacity he could have, but I also wanted to value his time. And I was getting paid for this workshop, and I was getting paid a very reasonable wage for it. And I said to David, I want you to feel comfortable with this. I want you to be happy about this opportunity. And so I offered him a sum of money to help me, which, how did that affect your perspective of working together?
So that really shifted it from here I was helping out a friend, which I love to do, to now I've got a responsibility to really give as much value as I can within the time that we're talking about. And so I think for me, it made it a lot more serious in terms of, okay, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to see what other kinds of resources we can find for Caroline in here. And so I put time into preparation, put time in ahead of our meeting. And then after we met, I continued to work on this and sent some more sources and some more resources. And why don't you think about this? And giving feedback. And we had another discussion about it where we just finalized some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as a coach, because I'm a coach as well, it occurred to me that this was a bit like coaching, except here I was giving a lot of the advice I was giving. It was a bit beyond what we would do in coaching. And coaching, I would help Caroline find the answers. And I would ask her questions, and I would help guide her through the process. But I wouldn't be providing input. As a thought partner, we were co-creating the workshop. And so I was bringing in my expertise, I was bringing in my experience to help her develop, and basically in the end what she delivered was a very good workshop.
It was very good.
And that really raised the question in my mind as to how many other facilitators are there out there creating workshops on their own, because a lot of us facilitators work alone. what would be the value if you were to hire a thought partner to work with you in developing, co-creating a workshop that you're going to facilitate?
Right, because as facilitators, we know that we kind of, any job, especially if you're working alone, you get kind of stuck in what works for you and into a rut. And for instance, David showed me a technique called the sailboat technique, which I hadn't heard of before, and it worked really, really well with this group. And that gave me some other ideas to do different things. So basically combined my ideas with David's expertise, and it still was my workshop and it was my theme and my tone, but I also gave me confidence that what I was presenting was legitimate and credentialed, even though I am a creative problem-solving facilitator and I feel like I could have done a good job without engaging David, but with engaging him, it made it even better. And the example, David, that it made me think of that I shared with you is, as a veterinarian, a lot of times staff that work in vet clinics, they bring their pets in, and some clinics will give a discount, some clinics won't, some clinics do it for free. But you know what happens with the pets that are getting the heavily discounted or free services is their pet sits in the clinic, and then the vet squeezes it in between appointments and probably does a fine job, but it's different than if you're allocated that time and that time is being paid for. And so I do think it affects the quality. If I just wanted a pat on the back and you can do it, girl, David would have been my guy, wouldn't have charged me a thing, and he didn't charge me anything. It was my idea to offer him payment. But I felt like there was a transfer of expertise there. David spent his entire life building this experience, and I think the idea of a thought partner might help somebody else out there. And if you're just looking for a pat on the back and I think that's great, reach out to a colleague and a friend. I think those relationships are very important. Finding a mastermind or a group where you can bounce ideas off each other. But this thought partnership idea that David and I worked on together, I feel like it goes deeper, and I feel like it is kind of like the reading the book instead of the Coles Notes idea.
Yeah, it's more structured, it's more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask a friend a question, and then they'll give you an answer. But this was an intentional, here I'm going to help Caroline out with some expertise. There is the pressure, expectation that I would be providing value, so this is a paid service.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we approached it.
Right, and it worked. It was great. High five.
Yeah.
Bam, bada bing, bada boom. So definitely recommend you consider that in whatever structure works for you. Maybe you could barter for services. I still find that a bit touchy because people don't value their own services so much, but consider this thought partnership idea, and whether it's with someone that you respect, and if you do have, or just a friend, but if you do have someone that you admire, like David, you just don't know with the timing. Like David has a very busy schedule, but he had a gap in his commitments. So it was the perfect timing, whereas you just don't even know. Just take a chance and reach out and give an idea about what your budget is or what you can allocate to it. It is much more helpful when you already have the commitment and the contract saying they're going to pay you, so that made it an easy yes for me. So,
okay.
Yeah.
A thought for today?
Thought for today. I hope this video is running. I won't have to do this again.